Hello, this is Randy Nelson, and this is an edition of Extra Innings. As a retiring superintendent of schools, many things run across my mind when I reflect on 37 years in education. What's happened in those 37 years? What have we been doing in our schools? And even, what's on the horizon? To help facilitate the discussion, I've enlisted the assistance of Mr. Bob Schmidt, past radio talk show host, a parent, and a friend.
37 years in the education business, and the last dozen or so working in administration, probably didn't see this coming at all at the end of your career, for sure. As we look at this and we look at the pandemic and we look at the school closings that we've had, what kind of things do you think will be different in the future, Randy, because of this?
I wish I knew. I wish I could provide everyone with a really clear description of what this is going to be like, but I can't. And I think that one thing is becoming clear to me, though, is that it's never going to be the same. This is our education, and the way we do education, the way we see education, is never going to be the same. And I say that in the most simple way because I do believe that even though our work in remote learning, we jumped into that and at times maybe haphazard and not at the same level of quality perhaps as a face-to-face classroom. We also know that we have some students out there, we have some families out there that like this. They like that method of delivery. And usually we leave kind of remote learning and online learning as an option that we think about after everything else has failed. Well, you could try, let's try some online. And I think it's time for us to make sure, as we talk about us being the school district of choice, to make sure that a remote learning opportunity is considered a viable part of education. When I extrapolate that out into the future just a little bit, part of the immediate future is, goodness, what do we do in July? We've got summer school, and we have 2 schools that are on year-round calendars. And what's going to happen with them in July? Are we going to be able to start school with them in July? So that's one of the upcoming questions that we're having to answer. We're just waiting for the next guidance. We want to know more about, what's after this current Safer at Home executive order? Mm-hmm. There's got to be something. There's got to be some sort of a statement that says, here's the pattern that we're in now until further notice or until a particular date. So we're kind of waiting for that shoe to drop so that we know better how is this going to impact July and summer school and year-round calendars. But I have to tell you, I also think that even when we get to September, I'm not so certain that school is going to be the same way in September as it was last September, to be honest with you. And I think we have to prepare ourselves for that. And, there's a whole process. You've got to go through the grieving process when you realize that it's not going to be the same. But I think once you get through that process, you also then can quickly move into the process of, what's it going to be? And what's our opportunity? Where are we? And how can we make this great? Because I still think inside of a really huge challenge that we're in right now, there's always opportunity. Our administrative team has been meeting virtually 3 times per week. I'd be lying if I told you that I love these virtual meetings. I'm a face-to-face guy myself, and I'm getting really tired of these virtual meetings. But I'll tell you what, we've got a good group of folks, and what we're talking about is we're just trying to extrapolate out to the fall. And what could this mean? So we're actually starting to run some scenarios. What would it be like, for instance, if we had to do school in the fall and we had to do social distancing? Can we even do it? So we've been exploring models, for instance. And the models we've been exploring might be, we already have a 6-day cycle, A, B, C, D, E, F, And so, maybe as it turns out, just so that we can only have a third of the students in the school buildings at any one time, that students come to school maybe 2 out of those 6 days. And then they're home 4 out of the 6 days. Now, think about the ramifications for that at home, especially if parents are starting themselves, if they haven't been working to get themselves back into the workplace and trying to stabilize their homes financially. And now 4 out of 6 days, their children are still going to be home. What does that look like? And how does that work? And how do we guarantee, which I don't know that we can, how do we guarantee that the parents who do send their children to school in the fall will be social distancing when you've got so many things that are of common need, whether it's, going down the hall or going to use the restroom or it's the media center or it's the cafeteria, and we're going to have to reteach and help. Think about our kindergarten, first and second graders, many of them who, I think we can can teach them, certainly, here's how to do social distancing and here's how it works. But it's just a whole new world that we're going to have to get into if we were to decide that we can even deliver school that way in the fall.
I could not imagine having your job at this moment.
One of the biggest challenges, I think, that has come about as a result of all of this, our work in equity to try to bring it together and give every student equal chance, equal footing as much as we can. That really took a huge step backwards when we were required to do this. Now, I think that doing a remote learning situation is better than doing nothing at all. So building the relationships, staying connected to students is really important. And I can't imagine the discussion at the state level, because at the state level, the guidance that we were given is, okay, we need to shut down our schools by whatever date. And so school is out. We'll put into place a lot of contingencies so that you don't have to worry about the hours and minutes and meeting those, but we're going to shut this down. What you realize is that when we shut it down, think about statewide, the number of school districts who were not able to do anything when it comes to remote learning. Maybe they're able to do some connecting and just some relationship building, but because of their circumstances or because they don't have the robust technology supports that we do here in La Crosse, the internet, for instance, just think about how all of a sudden students don't have access. And so I think that one of the things that has happened, state level and then it translates into local level, is you really see even clearer the discrepancies and also the inequities that are there if we don't have school face-to-face, if we don't have school together, everyone coming together somehow because they're there. And every home has a different learning environment. Some homes have environment that are really flush with books and supports and moms and dads that are there to help, and others don't. That's no fault of the parents as much as it is a circumstance that makes it really sometimes more difficult for a child to have the resources at his or her fingertips to be able to do the homework and support the homework.
Thanks, Randy. I'm looking forward to our next Extra Innings conversation. Retiring Superintendent of Schools Randy Nelson's Extra Innings podcast is a podcast for Hire.com production.